To me, that's a blanket. Those things were just like giving an infected blanket.
Yeah.
You put a nuclear power plant on a major fault on the surface of the Earth, and it's right out on the ocean. We'll be lucky if the ocean isn't completely dead by the time it's... I mean, if you couple that with that awful BP oil spill and with all the incidences that we don't know about, that we're not informed
small stuff
of.
that we really don't get to hear in the news because, again, our media is being controlled by these corporations.
Exactly.
So, your time is running out there, corporate world. Sootaanaah predicts that we're going to come to a different way of doing business here in the future.
I sure hope so.
You can get on board or you can go down with the ship. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you, corporate world.
And listeners, I mean, I think that all of us have our own minds, and we all have our own opinions, and it's up to us if you are subject to some kind of prejudice that you were raised with, well, try facing it and turning it around, or...
Yeah, exactly. We all have the ability to be compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've seen great examples of that through history. But, essentially every day everybody should wake up and say, I want to be that next guy that is going to be a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And, most times how that really actually starts is you wake up, you get yourself ready to work, go to work, and first thing you step out the door, you say hi to the mailman, hi to the paper boy, hi to your neighbor, hi to the bus driver. And you take that to work and you change your attitude on how we have to live together.
Yeah.
Because, again, Edmonton is so diverse now. In the 50s, 60s, you look at White Town, all white. But now we have every color here. Mm-hmm. And that's fine, that's great. To me, diversity breeds intelligence.
Yeah.
Because we get to learn about other cultures, and they get to learn about our cultures, and we get to share.
Exactly, and then everybody grows.
Yeah, and what is important, and we get to understand that we all have a cumulative goal here that must be addressed, which means we have to stop polluting our world, and we have to start cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. That's, and it's doable.
It is.
Totally doable.
Yes, that's for sure. It is doable. Okay, just to remind you, you're listening to Moccasin Telegraph on your favorite radical radio station, CJSR, and you're listening on 88.5 FM on your radio dial or cjsr.com. And we are discussing, this is Moccasin Telegraph, CJSR's Aboriginal call-in show, and we're discussing, well, all things.
Yeah, whatever you want to talk about, call in and give us a shot at what your idea, what your plan is, what your opinion is. Uh-huh. This is your show to say what you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, do you agree with the fact that Stephen Harper is going to give Attawapiscata a sort of a buyout, a help purse, but first of all he's going to tax that purse to virtually non-existence by charging them $1,300 for a person that they are forced to use, they actually don't want to use. I don't know. It just gets ridiculous so down. I mean, okay, and then on top of all of that insult, you've got Mr. McKay standing up and saying, I'm going to sue you for asking me a question during question period. I'm going to sue you for doing your job. Please, get real, Mr. McKay. Go and have another shave or something.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a flake.
Oh.
I mean, he's the Department of Defense Minister, right? He's got a war going on. And what is he actually doing, right?
Yeah.
All they're doing is sitting over there in our little castle and running out in the daytime and coming back at night. And how many people are getting killed, and what else are they bringing back,
Yeah.
What do you think about it? What grows in Afghanistan? And what is one of their major money trails? It's called heroin.
That's true.
Yeah, and you think our boys are all angels? It ain't. That's how they did it in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That's
Very
how they
true.
did in every war. That's what the Americans are doing there too. They're breeding more foolishness here at our own shore, on our own land, because of their involvement in a war that was based on fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's crazy world, but Stephen McKay is just. I mean, he's just an example of that. And when the light shines on them, they'd say, "I'm going to sue you," and that's all right. So, let them do it. Embarrass the country some more.
Well, exactly. Okay, because then there's the other thing. They tried to abolish the Canadian Wheat Board, and then the farmers said, "Well, wait a minute, that's against the law." And then Harper and his hooligans said, "But we don't care. We're going to do it anyway." How does that work? Like, you've got, how do these inconsistencies and inequalities exist in a country that was supposed to be a world leader?
Well, remember what I said last show?
What did you say last show, Sootaanaah?
Sootaanaah predicts that before the end of 2012, Harper's going to be gone by his own means.
Oh, I hope. You mean if we give him enough rope, he'll hang himself?
Exactly.
I certainly hope you're right.
He's already got the noose made, you know.
Too true.
You just got to find the right tree and convince him to climb up there.
Oh, let me on that committee. Yes. Anyway, so, okay, then, what do you think about, like, how would you cope if your community were in a state of crisis, and then the government said, "Oh yeah, we're coming to help you. Oh yeah, well, just a minute, we're coming to help, but do you have that money you owe us?" And then, "Oh, well, then we'll lend you some money, but just a moment, come down to the bank first. Oh, well, I don't have a vehicle and my house is on fire." Well, too bad then. You're not going to get any help. I mean, how ludicrous is it? Can we not set up something more realistic?
Well, yes, you know, there's a lot of common sense that has to happen, right? On both sides. But a prime example that has already happened was the Pagan Nation down south, the Old Man Dam. Through about 4 or 5 chief and councils consecutively, the federal government pushed them into an agreement regarding that dam and the building of it.
Right.
A settlement agreement. Basically, the government admitted, okay, we did this illegally, the dam's there, but we want to compensate you properly for any damages. So 5 or 6 chief councils went through this process. They got a $63 million deal after 3 referendums. And each time the referendum for the people needed to vote, the number dropped. So the government finally got their yes vote.
Oh, I see.
And so when they got the yes vote, one of the last corrupt chief and councils, last 2 actually really squandered half of that 63 million to we don't know where. So finally, 2.5 years ago, they had an election. And
half of 63 million.
Yeah, and more
that
than
would help out a lot of stuff.
And a lot more than that. So they elected a new chief and council, and one of the council members got to see what was going on, and he sued the chief and council.
Good.
And they kicked him off chief and council. They didn't pay him or anything for the entire time, but it got to the court finally after 2.5 years, and he won. So he's going to get paid for all his time that he was not allowed to be a councillor, and he gets to make them accountable for what happened for all those other chief and councils, what they did to the people. And that was another third-party intervention.
Okay, am I understanding it correctly? So the chief in council that the people of the community told to leave, to kick out, then he appealed and he won his appeal?
No, he was on chief and council.
He was on chief and council.
And when he found out what was going on, he sued the chief and council.
Okay, the whole council? Okay.
Yeah, because most of them were prior members to these other previous chief and council, so they were all in cahoots. They kept the deal and they kept it quiet and they blew all this money. And then finally, because of that, Fair sent in third-party management. And this is when this one chief and council got elected, and first thing after he found out what was going on, he sued them and he won. And that court process, the documents are public.
Okay.
So that spells out exactly how the federal government is not honoring treaties, is going ahead building dams, is going ahead and destroying ecosystems, all these things. But it has been exposed in a legal format that is really critical. It's one of those big landmark cases. So other First Nations, get some balls and do something about it at your own level. That's the only way it's going to happen, to clean up our own situation.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to go vote next week on my own reserve.
Good.
For the Kainai Self-Government Agreement. So it's been 12 years in the process
Okay.
with the feds, and Joe Blow, Blood Indian, has never seen the whole agreement. There's never been real public consultation on what this is going to be. And we're supposed to vote yes or no next Tuesday.
Without seeing it?
Exactly, without actually seeing what the meat of this document is. So, again, corruption. And our chief and counsel, they're under the microscope now because everybody knows.
Yeah.
This is another one of those deals that somebody's going to get rich and everybody else is going to get screwed on.
Exactly.
So, that, like I said, Stephen Harper's not only making his own news, there's a lot of other people out there. And it's about time because people are standing up.
Yeah. It's time for all these big hogs to fall.
Yeah. And you're seeing it in politics, you're seeing it in business, you're seeing it in industry. All these things, people are being exposed for what they've been doing over the years. Like in athletics, all the child molesters. It's like a chain reaction happening all over the place. Everybody's saying, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
This person has to go or go to jail. One of the two.
Yeah.
So,
keep going on that.
Yeah, so we have situations across the globe here where corruption is really being exposed and the people are standing up. And that's the important part, is that they're standing up and making their voices clear on what their situation is. I really applaud Russia. I was thinking about the occupied 9% different locations on the globe, and I was thinking, hey, wait a minute, how come Russia is not really doing anything with this movement? But the reality is they held out until the day before the election and really let loose in the greater Russia. And that's going to really affect how people think about their interaction with the governments, especially in Russia. It's really a totalitarian state. And Putin is looking for another 10 years, and the people are telling him, no way. So we'll see what he does in the next very little while. Right now, he's trying to blame the United States. But the reality is, Joe Blow Russian, an ordinary Russian guy, he has always thought for himself and the motherland. So for Putin to try to put it onto somebody else's agenda is pretty funny. But we will see what he does. And other despots, tyrants, dictators, potentates, and whatever else you want to call them chief, around the block of where you live. Check them out, see what they're doing, make them accountable. It's your time to really let them and the world know what we all have to do collectively, which is change our attitude and sustainably exist here on the great planet Earth, broadcasting live from 88.5 CJSR.com. Give us a call, send in a question. We're here to listen to you and discuss what you have to think or say. So we just had a call.